Today's a big day because I am digging up my winter onions sown from sets in October. They have sat here in this is the very first raised bed we built. It's a mixture of compost, topsoil, sand. We had some sand and some homemade compost as well. Some horse manure at the bottom, just general good stuff. Nothing, all organic, homemade or compost as well. They are really amazing. The red onions are called electric. Most of them have run up to flower. Not as pleased with those. I probably won't grow that set again because although they've made big onions, they do have the central core that they get when they go up to flower. But they're still good onions. Some of these are the biggest onions I think I've ever grown. This is my hand next to one of them. They're a good 4 or 5 inches across, most of them. I'm going to weigh some of them. I might weigh all of them. I'm just so pleased with them. These are going to be lifted, left to dry this afternoon if it stays dry. Then they're going onto special vegetable bulb racks in the barn, which is over there, ready for drying off further. It's warm dry in there, and they'll stay there for the tops to dry back. In a few weeks' time I'll cut the tops a bit shorter, and then they'll stay there until as and when I need them in their drying. I could plait them and everything. I tend to just leave them in their drying racks so that I can get a good look at them. The summer onions are in place as well. They suffered because they didn't have a proper bed. We hadn't built enough beds by the time I had to plant them, so they have been pushed in here, there and everywhere into the other beds, unfortunately. They've had to fend for themselves without a special place. I wanted a whole bed for them, so they're tucked in amongst sweet corn, struggling for life. Well, they're struggling really, but I think some of them are quite big actually. They're here amongst the tomatoes and the general low bed here. This is a very shallow bed, so I don't expect too much from them. So they've just been pushed in everywhere. I had about 50 or 60, so I'm hoping for medium-sized onions come September. Some of them I think are really doing quite well, actually. They're down in the dark, but I can feel some kind of. They've certainly got top growth. They haven't been nurtured as well as the winter onions because they haven't had the room. They've had to fight with courgettes, giant sweet corn, and everything else that's growing in these wonderful beds that I've got here that you can see down here. They're alive. They're a bit battered. But they'll have a bit more room as and when the things like the sweet corn come out later on. And they're grown from seed. They are Bedfordshire Champion and Tropea red onions, which aren't recommended on an American site as being a very good all-round onion. So I'm going to see how well they do. They've got a couple more months to get on with it, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we'll still get a good crop from them, and I might be able to make them some space. So later on in this video I am going to lay out all the onions on the membrane so you can see what I've got from one raised bed. Cheap bag of sets actually, and I'll put some weights on to see if you nurture them and look after them. They were planted quite close together as well. They weren't given as much space as I could have given them. Hello Rosie. Because I didn't have much space available. And here we have spring onions that I've actually left to grow into like quite nice mini salad onions really. They've just grown up. These are the really pleased with these winter sown white Lisbon winter hardy, and they've done amazingly well. There you go. Definitely recommend sowing them. I think they went in October, November, stayed quite small until February, March, and then they made the most beautiful spring onions we've been eating. We haven't bought spring onions for ages. Now they've turned into proper onions. So there we go, and definitely sow them again. So it looks a bit untidy, but that's because the top was folded mended over. They're all coming out now, and I'll do another video when I've done it, so that you can see what sort of weight we've got and how well they've done.